All right, guys, welcome to week one, day three of my Hypertrophy 1.0 program. Today we are starting with the Smith machine back squats. And I really like the Smith machine because I've always kind of struggled with barbell back squats just because of my long femur to torso ratio. I would have to bend over a lot, which I found that to be rather difficult while squatting. So I like this because you're kind of just locked into place and you can more focus on getting a deep stretch and actually getting the most out of your legs rather than just focusing on balancing and having proper technique. So it's just a good way to like overload your legs without too much additional fatigue added on top. And then I'm rocking these lifting shoes. I don't know if you can see them, but I like these because they're just flat on the bottom. So that will you can produce more force when you have a flat sole like that, rather than something like a running shoe where it's all cushy and whatnot. Then you're, wobbling back and forth while you're squatting, which is not ideal in my opinion. So you can totally use like Converse or whatever shoe you want, or you could do barefoot. It's honestly up to you. But let's do the first set. I also like to wear a lifting belt. It just helps take the focus off of your core and focuses it more on your legs, so you don't have to be bending and arching over and stuff. One more. I like to kind of pause at the bottom for half a second to get like the most amount of a stretch that you possibly can. I find that just destroys my legs. So I need to show my warm-up sets, but I think that it's really important to warm up on squats because they are so taxing. If you're not warming up properly, you're not going to be able to do as much weight as you could normally. So I do like 3 or 4 warm-up sets at least. And then I like to do like some quick stretches before as well because my hip mobility isn't the best. So I think that really helps. One more. I find that breathing and bracing is a great technique when you're squatting. And the reason for that is because it builds up a lot of pressure in your midsection, which increases rigidity. And there's a reason why people don't do like a bunch of static stretching before they lift weights. It's because they don't want to be too limber. Because when you have stiffness in your body, in your musculature, you can produce more power and thus lift heavier loads and get more, hypertrophy. So I like to breathe in and brace really hard and then do each rep. Like that's a good rule of thumb. Anyway, let's do the last set of squats here. One more. That's why you catch me doing a big inhale and then crunching down on my abdomen in between each and every rep to get that most amount of power and force output that I can. All right, up next we got the dumbbell Romanian deadlifts, and I like including these with something like a back squat because I don't think they're as taxing as a barbell Romanian deadlift. So doing dumbbells is kind of a nice change of pace for it. This is one of the only movements where you're gonna catch me using straps, because I think that if your grip runs out before your actual, glute strength and back strength, then you're in for a problem. You don't want your grip giving out first, because it almost surely will, and then you're not getting as much as you can out of a movement like this, which is really focused on your posterior chain as a whole, and instead you'd just be bottlenecking and cutting it short. Anyway. That's it. Okay, so with a Romanian deadlift or deadlift of any sort, your main objective is to push your hips back and then do a hip hinge while you're lifting the weight up. So on the way down, you're pushing your hips as far as you can back while keeping your legs relatively straight. Then you're gonna explode up by thrusting your hips and raising your back. I think that those are like the main form tips that you should try and remember. And also try and keep a stiff core. You wanna do the breathing and bracing again with this lift. And then I like to use a cue of, I'm just trying to lift with everything I got to bring the weight up. So I'm just kind of really reaching for the sky here. I find that helps me get the weight up. Anyway, let's do set 2. Another thing is you kind of want to be sliding the weights along your legs. You don't want your hands to be too far out in front of you or back. You want them just along your femurs. You just want to go along your femurs and track it, because if you're off-centered, then the weight distribution is going to be all off and you're going to fall off balance. So definitely make sure you're doing that as well. One more. Okay, up next we got the walking lunges, and I'm pretty taxed from doing those squats are really good form, and then those heavy RDL dumbbell exercise. So I'm going pretty light for these walking lunges. This is just kind of to add in extra volume to both my quads, hamstrings, and glutes, all three of those, without actually fatiguing myself too much. So it's kind of like, it's not as like strength focused. It's more of just adding in some sort of hypertrophic component at the end of doing those difficult sets. It's almost like adding on like a machine bench press in combination with like a barbell bench press or something like that. But oh, one more thing. I'm counting 2 steps as 1 rep in the program. You guys can download the program in the description if you haven't already and follow along if you so desire. Anyway. I feel like those are never not going to be a giant pain in the ass. Trying to do these slow and controlled. No point in rushing these ones. I feel like it's easy to rush these and not get the most out of it. Frick. Thank God we're done with those. Okay, up next we have the seated hamstring curl. This one is just to isolate the hamstrings, versus the Romanian deadlift was, a full-on compound lift. So this is a little bit different. The cool thing about this is that we're getting a great stretch on the hamstrings as well. And actually a way to do it is when you're performing the lift, you should ideally be far forward, because that mimics like a touching the toes hamstring effect just by going like this, because your torso is more leaned over, so you're getting a greater stretch when your feet are all the way up. This is just for some more like icing on the cake, getting some extra reps and extra volume in without overtaxing ourselves. So try good at failure with good slow and controlled flow. Okay, in the same vein as the hamstring curls, we're doing some leg extensions. I view it kind of in a similar way, where we're just adding some additional volume without adding too much of a fatigue component to it. So it's just some extra volume on top, and we know that volume is the most important thing for muscle growth. So let's do it. Let's add in a couple more sets here. Okay, here I'm doing a unilateral calf raise. I like this one because you can really put an emphasis on each one of your calf musculatures, your soleus and your gastroc on each leg. So you can really emphasize getting a deep stretch and then exploding up. And I like to use a single dumbbell, kind of levitate it over one leg, and then use a railing or something for support so that you're more stable. You can really get in there. And honestly, it doesn't take much weight because you're having your whole body weight on each calf in addition to the weight that you're adding. So I'm not doing very much weight at all. I think I got like a 25 pound here, 25 pounder. And it's already starting to burn. Another thing is we're doing 4 sets of these because we want 7 sets total for the calves, and the calves are not hit that well on the previous exercises that we performed, if at all. It might be hit a little bit on the squat in a isometric contraction, but isometric contractions don't put on very much, if at all, muscle. So we're doing 4 sets here, and we'll finish off the workout with 3 sets of the seated calf raise or soleus raise for a total of 7 sets in this workout. And since we're going back and forth legs, I just kind of like to have very little rest in between, since honestly you're pretty much resting when you're doing the other leg over the other. Just go to failure and then switch legs and do a total of 8 switches for 1 set on each calf. This is probably my all-time favorite calf exercise. It'll get you really sore. That's 2 sets. So it'll be 3. A lot of guys tend to skip their calves just because it feels like an afterthought. I used to be that guy. But I've learned from my mistakes, and as you get older, you start to realize that every body part is important. You don't just want to be hitting one more than the others, or else you're going to be paying for it long term. And guys, it's just not worth it. It takes a long time to build muscle. And it's annoying when you have to preferentially target one muscle over the rest of your body. That's no fun. Okay. Now we're going to finish off with those seated calf raises to finish out the program. Okay, now I did just call this a soleus raise, and it is true. It's only targeting one of the 2 muscles in the calf, the soleus. It's hardly, if at all, targeting the gastroc. But I don't think that that's really a huge issue. It's because I love this exercise, and I think that you don't want to just be targeting like one side of the coin. You're not just going to choose one exercise forever just because it's supposedly the best exercise you can do for a given muscle group. Like, you're not only going to do squats for the rest of your life or only deadlifts. You're going to add in, some different variations. You're going to add in a leg press here and there because your body's going to adapt to one over the other. And then, you're going to be screwed because you need some variation. It's just like doing a incline dumbbell curl and then doing a preacher curl too. One gets a great stretch, one gets a peak contraction. Sure, this stretch one may build a little bit more muscle, but you still want the peak contraction one as well. And that's kind of like my philosophy with calf training. You're not only going to be doing the standing variation, you're going to be doing the seated one too, even though the seated one on paper isn't targeting as much of the calf musculature. So that's how I look at it. Might as well do both. I honestly think that if you guys can film yourselves working out, you really should, because I found just through doing this a short amount of time that, you know, my sets are improved, my consistency is improved. I'm on my phone less. If I weren't recording myself and constantly talking to you guys, I'll probably be on my phone for way too long in between sets, and it's just gonna make my workout way longer than it has to. And it's just great to be able to look back and have a record for yourself. You know, you could look back in a year or something and see, oh, I did this much weight on this and my form looked like this. And, you know, over the course of this year, my technique has improved so much, my tempo has improved. I've just gotten better at lifting as a whole. And honestly, lifting is just a skill, just like anything else in life. The better you get at it, and you can get better because it's a skill, the more reward you're gonna get out of it, and the better you're gonna feel. And it's just awesome to realize that it's a skill and that you can get better at it. Another key thing is rest periods. A lot of people overcomplicate their rest periods. I think just take as long as you need for your cardiovascular system to get under control. And how you figure that out is just, you know, is your heart rate going down? Are you breathing less? Once you're just kind of settled in and you feel like you're at max capacity with that, that's a good telltale sign. And then after that, it's just whether your muscles are ready. If those two components are good to go, why would you rest any longer than you need to? You're just prolonging the inevitable. And then if you go before you're ready, then that can be a huge issue, because then you're not going to be able to attack your sets the same way, and you're going to be leaving, I hate using this phrase, gains on the table, but if it's fitting in this circumstance, you're going to be leaving some gains on the table. So we definitely don't want to be leaving any gains on the table. Okay, that was the last set of week 1, day 3, the leg day. So hope you guys liked it. Again, you guys can download the program free in the description. So far, it's good. Over the course of the next 4 weeks, you're going to be ramping up the volume over time, slowly and surely, to the point where we're almost overtraining, but you know, we're just overreaching, and then we'll take a deload break, and then I'll edit the program further, maybe change it up entirely. And over time, I mean, we're going to try and build the ultimate program through trial and error. So if you guys have any feedback about the program so far, leave it in the comments. I'll read it. Have a good one.